Hello, good afternoon. My name is Dawn, and we are letting in folks from the waiting room. I am going to give it 2 more minutes before we get started, and I'll do a more formal introduction at the beginning. I'll do a very short presentation, and then we'll take your questions. Thank you for coming this afternoon. Good afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. My name is Dawn Bond. I am the Director of Operational Services, and myself and my team have the honor and pleasure of moving your student in this fall. Thank you for joining our webinar. This is our last one of the summer. We have a nice, healthy audience today. I think there's close to 60 people in attendance, maybe 70. And so we will work on getting to all of your questions in the Q&A. I am going to do a very brief presentation just to hit on some highlights that probably are going to be questions you would have asked. So with that said, I'm going to close the Q&A and start. So about 2 weeks ago, your student found out where they were living on assignment release day, August 3rd. Last week, students made their move-in reservations. There were a small number of students who did not make their move-in reservation by the deadline on the 13th, and those students were assigned a move-in reservation time and have been communicated with. Your student is able to see their move-in reservation ongoing in the housing portal. And that is also where your student will go to print their boarding pass. I am going to primarily today talk about the 3 days that we do centralized check-in, and day 1 and day 2 are when we move in our new and transfer students. Let's focus on that, East and West check-in. We will transition some summer students on the 28th. Our early arrivals come in on the 31st. And these are the 2 days I'm going to focus on, Wednesday, September 2nd and Thursday, September 3rd. There are 3 types of move-in. There are during this year's move-in. And so during assisted move-in, you will be either moved in by a minute mover team or by the professional moving company. They're a little bit different, so I'm going to describe them quickly. Minute movers work with the family and help unload the car. Everybody participates, and as soon as that car is unloaded, then the driver of the car moves it to the parking lots that is designated for that residence hall. They will help push bins to stairwells to be carried upstairs or to elevators to go up in the elevators. The professional moving company is a little bit different, pictured here in the middle. The professional moving company will take all of the belongings out of the car with the family not even getting out of the car. They will take what we call chain of custody of your student's belongings and put them in these bins, mark them with the student's last name and room number, and then they will be pushed into the residence hall and placed in the room, usually in the amount of time that it takes for the family to go park and walk back to the residence hall. We use our professional movers in all Commonwealth Honors College halls, all Sylvan residential halls, and our Southwest towers. And then there's unassisted move-in. Unassisted move-in happens in many different days for different reasons. Our early arrivals are considered unassisted. Students who are coming after 6 p.m. on any one of the move-in days is considered unassisted, or anyone who moves in over the Labor Day weekend and chooses a move-in time then will be considered unassisted. That's where the family will be able to sign out one bin and unpack the car and load without any assistance. Bins only make sense during unassisted move-in if there's an elevator in the building. We containerize during assisted move-in because it helps us move the flow of the cars into the unload zone and out of the unload zone. But if your student lives in a building without an elevator, the bin won't be that much help during unassisted move-in. This is an example of the boarding pass this year. Very important. QR code is what we scan to check your student in. There's also some additional information about navigating to campus and where to go. I'm going to talk about the two check-in locations in just a moment. Your student for assisted move-in will need a printed boarding pass in the car with them so that we are able to scan that QR code. This presentation is going to be online, so I'm going to flip through some things rather quickly. I'm not going to go over this checklist, even though it's an awesome one by Sam, but please take a look. There are a couple of items I'd like to highlight on what to bring. There's a comprehensive list of things, and I'm sure you've already started to work that through with your student. Microfridge is our preferred vendor for the microwave refrigerator freezer unit, and I learned today that if you place an order by the end of the day today, Microfridge will guarantee that it's in the student's room at move-in. We hold a really large tag sale on Saturday of Labor Day weekend called New to You, and those are all items that last year at May Move Out students donated. So there's some really great stuff in there at great prices. That'll be in Hamden building and in a tent behind Hamden in the Southwest residential area. And then lastly, the luggage program is for our out-of-state and international families, and they are able to ship to us directly items that we will then also work our best to get into the student's room before they arrive. So again, there's some great lists on the website. I won't spend any time on that today. We do have a one-car rule. The one-car rule applies for our assisted move-in days, and quite honestly should be for unassisted move-in too, because it's just a lot to bring and it'll take up 2 spots. So it's 100% enforced during assisted move-in. And so there are plenty of reasons why you might bring a second car, but we will only unload one. And that primary car should have as many belongings in it as possible, along with the student. And that's the car that will get access to the unload zone at the residence hall. If you do bring 2 cars, this family didn't get the message and they're in the parking lot behind the football stadium moving some things around. And so try to avoid this. Put as much as you can in the primary car, and the secondary car should just have people. If you do end up putting a couple of things in the second car that need to be carried in, please make them light, make it easier for yourself. And this is an example of a family that's carrying some things up from the parking lot to the Southwest residential area. It's important to note here that while we're moving a building in, the elevator is being utilized to move students in and will not be available to pedestrian traffic unless there is a medical reason to do so. And so it's important to know that these folks carrying stuff in are also walking upstairs with it. In buildings where there are elevators, we also cannot guarantee that your move-in pattern is using the elevator. In some buildings, we use the elevator primarily for upper floors, and the lower floors push to a stairwell and carry. So please dress for the day, comfortable clothing and sneakers, stay hydrated, lots of water. We run a check-in shuttle all day, all 3 days of centralized assisted move-in, and it will pick you up. If your student's coming in from on a Peter Pan or Uber or Lyft, please have them go to the shuttle station. The first 2 days of move-in, it actually will not be in front of the Brommery, which is pictured here. The carnival is being set up, and so this bus stop will be moved to Mass Ave by the flagpoles on Massachusetts Avenue, and that's where our shuttle will pick students up. There will be big signs telling students to call a phone number, and then our shuttle will come and take them the last mile through the check-in process. So I'm going to skim through some of these summer transition and early arrival slides. Again, focusing on East Check-in first. This is a map of where East Check-in is located. And it is a very large parking lot on the northeast corner of our campus. And you will come in from the north. So it may not feel super intuitive because if you're driving down 116, you're going to drive past the campus and come back around and enter onto North Residential Drive from North Amherst. And the reason we've made that decision many years ago is because we have a main artery on our campus, North Pleasant Street, that has approximately 15 crosswalks, and the traffic just crawls through that corridor. And we don't want to bring in our move-in traffic for East check-in location through the center of campus. And so you will come in from the north. This year, we have created a customized directions opportunity for you using the website to enter in where you're coming from, where your student's moving in. You'll hit the button that says get directions, and it'll give you the most direct route using our plan to your check-in location. On the east side, you enter in through North Residential Drive. This is North Apartments. This is Sylvan, and you'll come up. The first stop on the east side is where your student will receive their key. We will put placards on the car or cars, directing them to where they need to go next. The placard will allow the primary car access to the unload zone. The second car will be placarded with a second car placard, and will go park where we have designated for that residence hall's second car parking. All of the parking directions are on our website, and we do want to really strongly encourage drivers of cars and people who will be navigating the traffic patterns and the campus on move-in day to do a little bit of pre-planning and take a look at those maps and directions and orient yourself based on where you're checking in and then how you're going from check-in to the residence hall. And then once that car is unloaded, you also need to know how to get to where we've designated for you to park. So again, a little bit of recon prior to coming to campus will help a lot once you are on campus. So the first stop is the key and the placards. That's where we check your student in using the boarding pass and the QR code. The second stop on the east side is our wonderful dining partners are out there with us every single day, and a water and snacks will be given to the car. Then the last is on both sides is called car call up. That's where we hold cars until there is a spot in the unload zone for that car to be unloaded. This is where the majority of the waiting will happen, if there's any waiting at all. Once a car is called off the car call up on the east side, it will leave the east check-in location. Again, orient yourself with the directions that are on our website and go to the residence hall. On the east side of campus for northeast residential area, north residential area, and Sylvan, the parking is a little bit further away than we would desire. It's mostly because we've taken this large parking lot offline. And so down here off of Governor's Drive in lots 68 and 31, the parking for these three residential areas is down here. And it's a little bit of a walk. And so we also run a shuttle, an Eastman Lane shuttle, all day long that drops off between Northeast and North, up at Sylvan, and then goes up and turns around. This shuttle goes up and down this route all day long, continuously, day 1, day 2, and day 3. So hop on the shuttle, particularly if you're carrying things or it's hot or if walking a really super long distance isn't your thing. The shuttle's going to look a little different this year. They've got some really cool new shuttles, and we'll be using one of them. But it essentially looks like that. On the west side of campus, which I think is a little more intuitive to navigate to because you can't really miss the football stadium, you will come in off of 116 onto Mass Ave and then come on to check-in, the check-in area on Stadium Drive. On the west side of campus, we have dining with you first, and that's where the snack comes in. And then you'll navigate around to the back side of the football stadium, and that's where your student is checked in, and we placard the cars. And then the last stop is car call up, and you'll leave car call up only if there's a spot open for you in the unload zone. The video that you can view on your own, this is about a 90-second video, but it's from start to finish, someone moving in on the east side of campus. The same video type is on our website for West check-in. So depending on the side you're moving in on, go ahead and watch that video. You'll get a sense of it. Once you've moved in, we know that students will already have some planning done about how to set up the room. In this case, these two students decided to bunk their beds. And this is an excellent opportunity for me to talk about for moving furniture around in the room and lofting kits and safety bars. So please be aware that every single residence hall room has a sprinkler head or two in it. All of our residence halls are fully sprinkled for fire safety reasons. Bunking a bed may require you to lift this bed up high to put it onto the first bed. What you want to do is do a ceiling check first before you start moving anything around in this room, because we don't want you to tap a sprinkler head accidentally while you're moving the room around, because it will activate the sprinkler head. The sprinkler head will drop thousands of gallons of water into the room, and it won't be an awesome first day. We also have lofting kits and safety bars available. The lofting kits are in each of the residence halls rooms, and the list of where by hall is on our website. And if your student would like a safety bar for, like in this case, for this top bunk bed, they can put in an online service request for that, and we will deliver it. Each residence hall has many of the same features, but it's a great opportunity to explore your new home. There are hydration stations, at least one, but usually more in every residence hall. So please think about bringing a couple of reusable, refillable water bottles. There's laundry in every single residence hall, a kitchen space, rec space. We do still deliver letter mail into mailboxes that are typically on the lobby or ground floor of residence halls. The major exception being Honors College. All of the letter mailboxes are adjacent to the service desk. Trash and recycling, students are responsible for removing their own trash and recycling from their room. Bins are provided for both. Sometimes the trash and recycling rooms are in the building on the floor. Sometimes they're in the building on the ground floor, and sometimes they're outside. So please navigate that as you are moving in. We do have emergency maintenance 24/7, 365 days a year. So this is an important phone number. If at any point, hopefully this will not be the case, but there is an emergency maintenance situation happening, please call this number. Your student should have this in their phone for the whole year in case something does happen. What do we consider emergency maintenance? Anything that's life or building safety oriented, flooding, fire, locks not working, glass broken, lack of power, lack of heat. Those are all considered emergency maintenance, and they should be called in. We have staff here 24/7 who we will dispatch immediately. I said this a moment ago about a residential service desk. There are 8 of them. The residential service desks support your students while living in residence. They can help your student learn how to open their mailbox. I won't say that it's super easy to open these mailbox combinations, but after you've done it a couple of times, you've got it. This is where your student would go to get a backup key if they've lost their key or misplaced it or locked themselves out. We can also issue temp cards. Temp cards are a replacement for the U card if the U card is lost or stolen. The temp card is intended for front door access. All of our residence halls are locked 24/7. Most importantly, though, this is where your student will go when they receive a package. We receive packages from many different vendors. The list is on our website. New this year, Amazon, who was previously not a delivery partner to our service desks and still is not, but they have installed package lockers on our campus in 6 different locations. They're all in the residential areas. And so your student will be able to create these package lockers as a delivery point for their Amazon purchase and then go pick that up at the Amazon lockers. And speaking of packages, our busiest time of the year is the first couple of weeks of the semester. So please avoid shipping something if you can. This is a real-time picture of a mailroom the first week of the semester. We're just buried here. And so we will process packages as quickly as we can. And from there, your student will receive an email and they'll come pick their package up. There are a couple of things that I want to highlight. If your student takes an important medication, please send them with a 30-day supply and avoid shipping that the first week or two. We don't want it to get caught up in this backlog here. And then there's also some delivery restrictions all listed on our website that we'd ask you to go ahead and take a look at. I forgot to mention this, and now looking at this screen, it reminded me today's not super hot, so that's probably why I'm not thinking about it. I would strongly encourage you to pack a fan or two with your student as they're moving in. There are only 2 residential areas that have air conditioning. Those are Honors College and North Apartments, and all other residence halls are not air conditioned, and it can be quite hot moving in and in September, October. So by the time you get here, though, in the seasonal aspect of retail, the fans are usually no longer available locally. They're usually Halloween decorations sitting on those shelves. And so definitely think about a fan or 2 so that your student can move air around, maybe place one in the window and then have an oscillating fan more inside the room to move air about. I am going to point out our contact information here. If there's a question after the webinar ends, please send us an email or give us a call, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. I'm going to pause here and ask my team if there are any questions that seem to be themes or ways that I can help with this webinar.
Hi, Don. So there seems to be a lot of international student questions. Um, how how will it look for them if they're staying at the hotel the night before? How will I get my U card? Things like that.
Okay, I can definitely help with that. So my understanding is that most new international students will move in early unless you've asked for that not to be the case. And so I am going to now describe early arrival day. I missed it. It's because I was talking. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. So early arrival is unassisted move-in. And that is where students will go to their residential service desk and be issued their key. For international students, we work closely with the U-Card office to take possession of those U-Cards so that we can also give them to the student as they're getting their key. The U-Card office does not mail to international addresses, so we are in possession of the international student U-Cards. The list of residential service desks and what buildings are affiliated with which service desk is listed on our website. And so you'll want to do some research there. You will check in there if you need a bin. During early arrival day, the bins are actually out at what we call bin stations. And so students or a parent can request a bin and for usage for 40 minutes. You're able to park in the unload zone for 20 minutes, and then you'll need to move the car. If you're coming in through Peter Pan or transportation that's being organized by the Office of Global Affairs, they do have some staff that will be working that day to move students around campus as they arrive at the Brommery Center for the Arts. And so that's something that you'll want to reach out to the Office of Global Affairs about regarding their hours. But I do know that they will be operating some golf carts and taking students from getting off the buses to their service desk to get the key and then to their residence hall with their luggage to start to move in. We also, I think I actually answered all the questions because I don't want to talk about our shuttle because we don't operate our shuttle during early arrival move-in day. Sarah, did I answer all the points there that were coming from international families?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes. The next theme is I'm an early arrival and my parents want to come later to bring some more items. Can they do that?
Yes. So I'll say that carefully. The answer is yes. And please note that we have move-in reservations all day that day until 8 p.m. And so the move-in reservations for early arrival is your primary time to be moved in and to move in belongings. But if there are some additional items coming, that we would ask you to be very efficient in the unload zone, or perhaps park close by the residence hall and walk those items in. So we're never going to say you can't bring additional items in, but I just want to make people aware that all day long there are new families arriving and moving their student in as early arrivals from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. that day. What else do we have in the Q&A today? Oh, we're getting some really specific questions about rooms. I have an amazing team. You all have to hear that. I've got about 10 staff behind the scenes answering questions right now. We do not know the specifics of rooms like in each building and different dimensions and sizes. My understanding is that on the family to family Facebook page, that is not a UMass sponsored page. Parents actually manage that page. They do have some photo albums from all of the first year residence halls. And from what I can tell is they're fairly robust pictures, and there's lots and lots of pictures of different rooms. And so I would encourage you to join that Facebook page if you're thinking about dimensions and room sizes and closets and things like that, windows. Those are all things that do vary in most of our residence halls from room to room.
Don, do you have any
So,
suggestions on packing efficiently for assisted move-in?
yes, try to pack the things in sizes that you can lift and carry. Because if you pack a giant box that's super heavy and no one can carry it up the stairs, you're going to be in a pickle there. So I would say pack smaller, movable bags and boxes. The micro fridges tend to be, if you haven't ordered one through micro fridge that's already delivered to the room, those can be quite cumbersome, especially if you're walking them up the stairs. And so be thoughtful about that as you're packing or purchasing a micro fridge. You may have to carry that up the stairs on your own. Um, I've left things on hangers and then just wrapped those hangers with a rubber band and then put a black trash bag over them. And then you can just hang those right up when you move in. And those are easy to carry upstairs as well. So those are some of my ideas. I did see a question about Orchard Hill parking being quite far away. I think whoever that wrote that misunderstood. You're not parking on the east side of campus by the check-in location. Orchard Hill parking is actually some of the closest parking that you could have after the car is unloaded or for a second car. Orchard Hill parking is in lot 49, which there's a couple versions of 49 around Orchard Hill, but it's literally 50 yards from those residence halls. So that's much closer parking than maybe you were hearing me talk about lot 68 and 31 and the shuttle that we run on the east side of campus. That shuttle and that parking is for Northeast, North, and Sylvan check-ins. Anything else? Look at some of the questions. So we've gotten a couple questions about students are bringing a car. Please note, most of the parking lots that students park in are offline to move students in. So they may not park in their actual parking spot. So lot 11 and lot 44 are offline during centralized move-in, assisted move-in. And so your student will receive a memo from parking services letting them know where they can park until we break down move-in operation on Friday early evening. And your student will not get a ticket unless they park in a restricted parking lot that wouldn't have been on the memo that parking services sent them. So please have your student check that if they are bringing a car to campus. Anything else, Sarah, that you're seeing?
Yeah, we've got one. Can you talk about um, being able to use the elevators? Specifically, this person is difficult to walk flights of stairs. It's not clear on what day they're coming, but
Okay.
maybe.
Okay, I'll
overall?
cover them all. I'll
Mhm.
cover them all. I want to answer a question about Amazon in the Charles River campus. Charles River campus takes Amazon deliveries at their security area, and students go there to pick up. And so there are not the Amazon lockers on the Charles River campus because Amazon deliveries were working fine at that location. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about elevators. So we have a number of residence halls that don't have an elevator at all. And those are predominantly in our northeast and central residential areas. And so those are going to be buildings where, in all cases, families are moving in using stairs. Then there are a number of buildings, I'd say all the buildings with elevators, with the exception of towers and Honors College, where we will move those buildings in where the highest floors in that building will be pushed into the elevator. The bins will be pushed into the elevator, and then the lower floors will walk up a couple of flights of stairs. And we've tried to, of course, make good decisions about how much a family can walk and carry, and done our best to make decisions about those push patterns. If in any case where there is an elevator, a person who's in the move-in party has a medical reason to not be able to walk stairs, then we need you to ask to ride the elevator, and we will work you in to that pattern. And that includes the professional moving company that will move in our Southwest Towers, Sylvan, and Honors College, as well as all of the buildings that Minute Movers will move people into that have elevators. And so you'll find somebody um, in the each of the unload zones for minute movers. There are designated team leaders that wear a different colored shirt. I believe it's yellow. The team leaders, make yourself known to the team leader, and they will work with res life staff to get you sorted into the elevator at a point that we're not moving bins as well. And then on the USS side, the professional moving company, please see the Res Life partners in the lobby of the building, and they will work with the USS team to get you into the elevator.
Don, there's a question around the minute movers, and once the items are in the bin, if there's not an elevator, how do they get the bins upstairs?
Yep, you're going to push that bin to the stairwell that we've designated. It's the one that's closest to your student room as you're walking up those stairs. You're going to leave that bin at the bottom of the stairs, and you're going to unload that bin from there. And you might say, well, why did we have to put everything in a bin? Well, the reason we put everything in the bin is because we got the car unloaded and moved out of the unload zone, and another car is already being unloaded. And so what that is called to us is containerizing. And so your students' items will be containerized, pushed to the closest stairwell, and then from there, items are taken out of the bin and carried up the stairs. We don't try to carry those big laundry bins up the stairs full of items. That would be a Herculean effort. Other questions?
Nope, folks are answering the questions that are in there right now. There is not anything pending.
Great.
Maybe since there are a lot of international folks with us today, I'll refer them to the webinar that is on the website from the Office of Global Affairs. We did.
Is that on our website as well,
It
Sarah?
is. It's in the communications tab.
Okay, great. And any questions you have about that orientation or what students will be doing after they've moved in, all should go to the Office of Global Affairs. I know they've done a lot of careful thinking and planning for your students' arrival and getting them oriented to the campus. I also know they have some fun things planned, and so that's all with the Office of Global Affairs. I will scroll back down to our contact information. So we remind people that if something comes up for you after this webinar ends and you have a question for us, please drop us an email. I see a question here about how many bins will we unload? Will the minute movers unload? We will use as many bins as it takes to get that car unloaded, because remember, our primary goal for a really efficient, smooth running move-in operation is to keep cars coming into the unload zone and then being moved out to go park. So the average is 2 to 3 bins for students to need to unload the car. We've certainly seen more than that. I think at that stage, the belongings are getting to be a little bit too much. Remember, most of these rooms are shared rooms. They are all furnished, bed, desk, dresser, chair, desk chair, closets, place to hang clothing. And so there's lots of things already in the room. We do know that some additional storage will come in for students to put different things in, but 4, 5, 6 bins, too much stuff. Okay, it looks like we have answered all of the questions in our Q&A. I will give it just another moment before I thank people for coming and see if there's just any last minute questions. Okay, looks like we have done a fantastic job. I want to thank my team behind the scenes for answering tons and tons of questions. This is our last webinar of the summer. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, we've got a raised hand. Makari, you may go ahead. No? Did they go away?
I think it was an accident. They just wrote sorry.
Oh, that's okay. You're no reason to be sorry. We would have taken your question. So thank you for joining our webinar today. We look forward to welcoming you in really about 2 weeks. And so we're ready, we're excited, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your summer, and we'll see you very, very soon. Thank you so much for coming today.